They told me to just snap out of it when I struggled to get out of bed. I laughed, smiled, pretended, until pretending nearly broke me. By the time they finally asked if I was okay, I wasn't angry anymore. I was just done. And what I did next? Let's just say they stopped telling that story out loud. It started with them telling me to just snap out of it. I was not crying, I was not throwing things, I was not falling apart in some visible, cinematic way. I was just quiet. Slower. I stopped laughing at things that used to make me laugh. I forgot how to start conversations, so I stopped trying. I sat at my desk and typed what needed to be typed. Showed up when I was supposed to, ate enough not to worry anyone. Smiled when I remembered. But mostly, I was disappearing. People do not notice when you're drowning if you are doing it without splashing. My boyfriend, Trevor, asked me if I was tired. I said yes. He nodded like that made sense. And then he kept scrolling. My sister Dahlia called me less. When I answered, she filled the call with things I did not ask about. Her kids, her husband. A coupon she found for matching luggage. "You've been so quiet," she'd say, like it was a phase I would grow out of. Like I had a cold. At work, Jess, who once called me her work wife, started avoiding eye contact. I would catch her glancing when she thought I wasn't looking. I overheard her one time in the kitchen, whispering, "Yeah, Raya's just been off lately." But no one asked, not directly, not in a way that mattered. They wanted me fixed, not honest, so I kept showing up. I went to the team birthday lunches, smiled in the group photos, brought cupcakes to Jess's baby shower. I read all the books people were talking about just so I could have something to say. I went to dinner with Trevor's friends, wore the outfits he said he liked, said I was just tired when I could barely keep my eyes open at the table. The truth was, I was exhausted from performing life. And when I started slipping, when my eyes went dim and my voice got flat, they told me to be grateful. "You've got a job. You've got someone who loves you. You're just in a funk." And then, just snap out of it. That phrase became a bruise. I wore it like a second skin. The harder they said it, the harder I tried to snap out, as if the problem was me not snapping hard enough. I smiled harder. I posted more. I hosted dinner when I had not cooked for myself in weeks. I laughed at things I did not find funny. I answered every "how are you?" with "I'm great, how are you?" No one looked deeper. They were too busy nodding, relieved to believe me. I do not remember the moment the mask started to crack. I just remember the supply closet. I had walked in to grab some printer paper, closed the door behind me, and then my body folded in on itself like it had been holding its breath for months. I could not breathe. I slid to the floor, my back against the wall, mouth open, gasping. Not crying, I was past tears. It was like something inside me short-circuited. I do not know how long I was in there. 5 minutes? 15? When I finally walked out, I readjusted my face in the reflection of the microwave, smoothed my blouse, checked for smudged mascara, walked back to my desk, typed 3 more emails, booked a meeting for the next morning, then I sat there. Still, and I knew it was over. I had 2 choices: disappear completely or leave on my own terms. The worst part, the next day Jess finally asked, "Hey, are you okay?" She asked it in passing, barely made eye contact, half smile. I looked at her and smiled back. "I'm fine." And I knew I was done, not because I was angry, not because I needed them to hurt like I hurt, but because I had nothing left to give people who only noticed me when I stopped entertaining them. I went home that night, sat on the floor with a notepad, and made a list. At the top I wrote, 72 hours, no warning, no theatrics, just peace. Day 1, I submitted my resignation. No long-winded explanation, no emotional message, just 2 lines in an email. Subject, resignation. Body, effective immediately. Thank you for the opportunity. I used my remaining PTO to cover the notice period and walked out of that building like I had never stepped foot in it. I cleared my desk after hours, when no one was around. My box had nothing in it that mattered. Mostly just pens, a mug, and a post-it I had once scribbled a grocery list on the back of. I threw the post-it away before I got to the elevator. Day 2, I dropped the lease. The landlord was surprised, but not enough to ask questions. I packed only what fit into my car: clothes, laptop, charger, a stack of books I never finished, and 1 photo from childhood. The one where I was smiling, barefoot on my grandmother's porch, arms out like I believed the world wanted me. That girl deserved a comeback. I left behind dishes, rugs, candles, all the little things people buy to feel like life is decorated properly. I did not care anymore. Day 3, I turned my phone off. Not airplane mode. Off. Powered down. No buzzing, no notifications, no, just checking in texts that were only about making themselves feel better. I did not tell anyone where I was going. I had printed directions to the coast. That was the only plan. Drive west, find water, and breathe until my chest stopped feeling like a held breath. Before I left, I taped one thing to the bathroom mirror. A napkin, with one line written in black Sharpie. You asked me once if I was happy. You didn't wait for the answer. Trevor had asked me that question 6 months earlier. I remember exactly how it went. We were lying in bed, lights off, and he said, "Do you ever think about if you're actually happy?" I turned to answer him and saw that he was already asleep. That napkin was not a message, it was a mirror. I left it beside my key on the counter. No drama, no breakdown, just done. No one heard from me for a week. Not a text, not a post, not a missed call to return. My inbox was silent because I made it so. My phone stayed off in the glove box of my car, where it could not vibrate, where no one could find a way to wedge themselves back into my brain. I stayed in a motel near the Oregon coast. It smelled like salt and carpet cleaner. The kind of place you book online when you do not care about amenities, only vacancy. My room had a window that faced a parking lot and a thin view of the ocean if I leaned at the right angle. I spent most mornings sitting outside on the little concrete stoop with coffee that tasted like burnt plastic and air that finally did not feel heavy. I walked the beach alone. Let the water roll up and erase my footprints every time. No one there told me to smile. No one asked if I was okay. No one expected anything. That was the point. When I finally turned my phone on just to check if I existed to anyone yet, it buzzed slowly at first, then more insistently. The first message was from Jess. "Hey, are you okay?" No punctuation, no follow-up. The second was from Dahlia. "You could have said something." I read both. Read them, actually. Sat with them like strangers sitting too close on a bench. Jess had never noticed when I started vanishing in real time, but now she was curious. Dahlia had dismissed my silence for weeks, but now she wanted an explanation. I did not reply. Not because I wanted them to worry, but because I was finally somewhere they could not reach physically or emotionally. Every word they had said before this was about me being too quiet, too sensitive, too dramatic. Now my silence was the loudest thing in their inboxes. I closed the phone, put it back in the glove box, walked to the beach again. Let the waves come and go without asking them for meaning. It was not happiness, but it was mine. The voice note came in a day later, from Trevor. I saw his name before I even played it, that familiar little circle next to the play button, like he still had something important to say. But I didn't open it. I didn't even press play, I just stared at it, because I knew exactly what it would be. His voice, probably soft, carefully worded, maybe a little sad, maybe even teary. The kind of message you send when you want to sound like you finally understand something, but only enough to make yourself feel better. Not enough to take responsibility. Not enough to admit you read the signs for months and decided not to care. I didn't need to read it to know what it was. I didn't need to hear my name stretched out like a sigh. I didn't need to hear the phrase, "I'm sorry if I made you feel." I didn't need to hear the part where he says he was worried, like worry was love. So I saved it. Just saved it to my files, not because I wanted to keep him, but because I wanted to remember what it felt like to choose myself, to look at a voice note and say, "No, thank you." Trevor always knew how to talk, but he never once knew how to hear me. He used questions as proof he was a good boyfriend. "Are you okay? Are you happy? Do you want to talk?" But never stayed long enough in the answer. Never sat still when the truth wasn't clean. That voice note is still sitting in my phone, unopened, not because I'm scared, but because I don't owe it anything. It can sit there the same way I used to, waiting, unheard. Now I listen to myself. And silence has never sounded more like power. I sent one email. One. No long thread, no dramatic subject line, no explanation paragraphs. Just a blunt send-off with everyone CC'd. Jess, Dahlia, Trevor, even my old manager, Claire, the one who always complimented my work ethic while watching me slowly burn out. Subject, no longer available. Body, you were right, I should have snapped out of it. So I did. I hit send. Then I blocked every reply before they had the chance to craft one. I did not need their guilt. I did not need their fake concern. I did not want to read another sentence that began with, "if I'd known." The truth was, they all knew. In some small way, they knew. They just ignored the version of me that wasn't smiling. The moment I hit send, I felt something I hadn't felt in months, maybe years. Not freedom, not peace, something sharper, more grounded, closure. Not the kind that comes from a conversation. The kind that comes when you say the last word and then shut every door before they can speak again. I sat in the motel parking lot with my legs out the car door and watched the sun set behind a liquor store. It wasn't beautiful, it wasn't cinematic, but it was quiet. No buzzing, no calls, no new emails, just one final message floating in their inboxes like a mirror. Not to punish, not to provoke, but to confirm what I had already done. I snapped out of it, just not the way they meant. Malachi was the only one who got through. New number, one-line text. I know you're gone, just wanted you to know that story they tell about you. It's changing. No punctuation, just space. And wait, then another, they stopped calling you dramatic. Pause, now they just call you gone. I stared at that last message for a long time. It did not hurt. It did not sting. It just confirmed what I already felt somewhere deep in my body, the part of me that had been read and misunderstood for years. They do not say I overreacted anymore. They do not call me unstable. They do not repeat the old stories about how I was too much or always emotional. They just say I left, because I did. I walked out of the room they were so used to seeing me in. Not with a bang, but a quiet, absolute exit. No goodbyes, no second chances. I left when they thought I wouldn't. I left when they thought they had more time. Now, all they can do is retell the version of the story that makes them look better, and even that is starting to crumble. Because when you are no longer around to play your role, they have to live with what's left. Silence, absence, the shape of someone who once gave everything, then decided to give nothing. Malachi did not ask me to come back. He did not try to explain anyone's behavior. He just told me the truth, like he always did. And that's how I knew he saw me, even now. I live in a town now where no one knows my name unless I want them to. Population under 1,000. There is a post office, one diner, and a coffee shop with hand-painted mugs that do not match. My barista is named Maya. She wears cat-eye glasses and always asks, "The usual?" Like we've been doing this for years. She remembers my name. She does not ask why I moved here. I walk every morning. Just after sunrise, before anyone else is really up. The streets are quiet, the birds loud, the air clean. I nod at a woman who sweeps her porch. She nods back. That is it. That is all I need. No one here tells me to smile. No one says, "You used to be so fun." No one performs concern and calls it kindness. I rent a studio above a bookstore. The owner lets me take home paperbacks in exchange for helping organize the shelves. He likes things alphabetical, but not rigid. We talk about nothing and everything. He knows nothing about my past. I like it that way. I do not post anymore. No location tags, no filtered selfies, no curated life updates. I deleted my old Instagram the night I sent that final email. Watched the screen go blank like a house with all the lights turned off. My life is not perfect now. I still wake up some mornings with a tight chest and no reason. I still pause in the middle of washing a dish and forget what I was thinking about. I still catch myself bracing for a question that never comes, the kind that ends with, "Are you sure you're okay?" But it is quiet here, not lonely. Just quiet. I make my own grocery list. I cook simple meals. I hang my laundry outside because the sun here feels like a reward. This is not joy exactly. It is not even recovery. It is what comes after you stop pretending and just start living. It is mine, finally, and that makes it enough. I heard Trevor tried to tell people I was unstable, that I spiraled, that I ghosted everyone, that he was worried for me. Like he hadn't read the warning signs 1,000 times and rolled over in bed each one. But that story didn't land the way he wanted it to. Because after the email, after the clean, razor-edged silence I left behind, people stopped repeating his version. They flinched when my name came up. They got quiet, uncomfortable. Like even saying it too loud might pull me back into the room and make them answer for something. Jess never followed up. Dahlia posted a quote about respecting boundaries 3 days after I blocked her. Claire, my old manager, updated the org chart and moved on. But no one says it out loud anymore. The story. Not the way they used to. No more, she's just dramatic. No more, she's always going through something. No more jokes at my expense when I step out of the room. Now when my name comes up, it's a pause. A shift in tone. A low voice asking, "Did you ever hear what happened with Rhea?" And no one answers. Not directly. Because they all know some part of what they did not say, how they let it fester. And they know I'm not coming back to correct the record. That's the part that scares them most. The silence. The finality. The way I made my absence feel heavier than my presence ever did. They can rewrite their group chats, revise their little memories, soften their guilt with clever phrasing. But they do not tell the story out loud anymore. Because when they try, they choke on it. I am not healed, let's just start there. I still flinch when I hear certain tones. I still avoid mirrors some mornings. I still get that tight feeling in my chest when someone uses the word fine too quickly, the way I used to. But I am real now. I do not smile unless I mean it. I do not answer questions that are not asked in good faith. I do not soften my truth to make people more comfortable. I exist as I am, quiet, sharp-edged, rebuilding. And I do not apologize for that anymore. I found a therapist in town. Her name is Jill. She wears soft cardigans and has a salt lamp on her desk that hums when it is too quiet. She does not ask what happened in a way that sounds performative. She asks like she can hold the answer. She's the first person who's ever said, "You don't owe me a polished version." I told her that once, I nearly disappeared. She nodded and said, "And then what?" And I told her I stopped pretending. Because that was the real shift, not the resignation, not the drive, not the final email. It was the moment I stood in front of a mirror and said, "You do not have to fake it anymore." That girl, the one who made cupcakes while falling apart, who answered "I'm fine" through a clenched jaw, who waited for someone to notice she was cracking, she's not dead. She's just finally resting. I carry her with me, not as shame, but as proof. Proof that I survived being invisible. Proof that I stopped asking people to see me and started seeing myself. So if they ever ask where I went, I hope someone tells them. She stopped pretending. That story they used to tell, the one where I was just dramatic, too sensitive, hard to be around. It is quiet now. They do not tell it out loud anymore. Not at dinners, not in text threads, not at game nights or office happy hours. They avoid it like a wound they do not want to admit is still bleeding. Because they know if they say it wrong, if they frame it the way they used to, someone will ask, "Well, what did you do when she said she was struggling?" And none of them have an answer they can say out loud. So they do not say my name much anymore. Not where I can hear, not where it echoes. And that finally is enough, not justice, not revenge, just the end. Thank you for watching. Please do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I love you all.